Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Women's Chat Show. Arsenal are champions once again. And this time, it's the champions of club, the World Cup. Just a little reminder, not even Chelsea have that. Yeah, only in the land again. And of course, as you can see, I'm joined by the wonderful man of Grimsby, who has disappeared recently, and I'm sure George will be happy to see him back since he disappeared at that last game in the Euros, and we haven't seen him since, as George says. Jack, how you doing?
I'm not bad, to be fair. I'm not bad. It's good to be back. I may have been missing, but I have been watching the games each week and just unfortunately not falling on the right dates for the podcast and work at the moment. But yeah, back and looking forward to talking about being champions of the world.
Yes, we are champions of the world, as you say, Jack, and it's a great feeling, isn't it, Paul?
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean, to be champions of Europe is one thing, twice, but champions of the world, that's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, as you said before we started, Paul, you wanted the Arsenal Supporters Club to be sponsored by some kind of coffee, because I think A, most of us are tired this morning, and B, most of us are missing my voice. As you can hear, mine's is a bit crackly. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to give you, but obviously what a day it was, and we'll obviously get into it further throughout the show. Yeah, I'll obviously come to you about the starting lineup. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was pretty happy we'd gone as strong as I think Renee could go. I mean, when you get to a final and a competition, you just want to win it, don't you? I didn't want to see any rotation. I didn't want to see anyone rested. I always quite like Stina and Alessia Russo playing up together, although I do think at some point towards the end of the season, a discussion will probably need to be had in a similar vein to what we had with Viv about is her best position the striker or in midfield. And I think just like with Viv, most of us will err on the side of the striker. So, but yeah, I had no complaints with it. I was pleased to see Lotte in defence. I know there was points at the start of the season where we worried that it may be a last. So yeah, no complaints from me on that side.
Yeah, obviously, before I get into anything else, I'll say a few hellos to everybody that's in the chat. Obviously, Kevin's in. Hello, Kevin. I hope you're well. I hope your voice isn't as bad as mine sounds. Darren's in. Hello, Darren. And he's happy that you're back, Jack. I think most of us will be happy that you're.
I feel like a trawlerman that everyone thought was lost at sea, and has managed to be washed up back again on shore.
You've been like our strikers lately, Jack. Missing. Ryan's in the house. Hello, Ryan. I hope you're well. We've won it all. Whatever way Jack sings. Sorry, not Jack. Whatever way Ryan sings that. I don't know. I'd love to hear it. So, Hagad, if I say your name wrong, can you please let me know? Because I don't know if I'm saying it right or wrong, and I'd quite like you to correct me on that one. Dorian's in the house as well. Hello, Dorian. I hope you're well as well. I hope you aren't as bad as me either, because you never stopped yesterday, boy, and it was crazy. Hello, Chris. Hope you're well as well. Kevin says can't stop coughing long enough to speak. Yeah, I think we were all a bit ill from Chelsea anyway, weren't we? So yeah. Only Darren is washed up. You can argue in the comment sections about that. We're staying at that. We've got a show to do, haven't we, boys? So we'll obviously get on with that one. So we will. Paul, that lineup, what do you think that told us about Arsenal's game plan?
Obviously, she was going quite strong up front with both Russo and Stina up there, but also solid in defence. It was a solid lineup. It was, like Jack said, it was very strong. She didn't want to lose it at all, and I think that showed that we dominated in possession throughout the game, and it was really sort of positive to see that the Stina Russo did seem to be working. I really like Stina coming off the bench because I think she is one of our game changers. When you look in recent bench games where we've had a very weak bench, she does seem to be that only player that can sort of read a game, come on and change it, whereas others tend to be like for like changes. So although I'd love to see her start with Russo, it does sort of worry me a little bit that we haven't got that sort of player that can come and change things off the bench. However, saying that, with Chloe Kelly coming back from her injury, she's another one of those that can change the dynamic of a game.
Yeah. I obviously later on, like, I had it down as a question for later on. It's linked in with obviously how Arsenal played through the game in terms of, for me, in terms of how Arsenal played, it was quite sloppy at times, and we lost the ball too easily in terms of giving Corinthians the chance to obviously get back into the game. But one of my concerns was obviously our strike force at the moment. There's just something not right with it. Jack, do you think Arsenal should be worried about that, or do you think Arsenal at this moment in time should start looking for a prolific striker?
I think Russo can be the prolific striker still. I do still think she has that in her. I think at the moment, because of depth elsewhere, she's having to do multiple roles, which I think is why we are seeing her often deeper back. Because, I mean, we create chances, but are we creating real clear-cut chances where it's balls into the box? I mean, I'm thinking Russo at the Euros. She scored a lot of headers. And whereas all our wingers are really quietly tight packed in, they like to cut inside. They like to be in the box themselves. So I don't think we're playing to a strength yet. I'm not worried. I think we are heading towards a season of real rebuild and revitalising the squad. And I think we're going to see a lot of players go. And then I have absolute confidence in Rene to bring in new ones who will freshen things up. So I think it's a case of let's just see on what is going to be a lot of these experienced players who we will forever remember as champions of Europe. Let's see what they can win in probably what's going to be their last season, and then take stock at the summer and see what comes in. But I think if we hadn't won the Champions League last year, we'd have done the changes this year. I think you rightfully had to stick with them for one more year, sort of thing. And you do see that tiredness a little bit. So I'd be hesitant to go too harsh on any individual or even Russo herself, because she scored so many goals up until now. The goals will come. I just think she's having to do too many roles to be able to just concentrate on being the sole goal scorer for the team.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, there's been heavy rumours, obviously, for Arsenal, especially today, with obviously Stanley agreeing in terms of wanting to come to Arsenal. We obviously seen the rumour the other day that Onabaji is in talks at the moment as well. So that's two exciting players that possibly could come into Arsenal in the summer, and it's getting fans a little bit excited for the change that's about to come. But obviously, there's going to be upsets at who's going to go out the door. And of course, we've seen today that Katie McCabe, it's not confirmed by the club or Katie McCabe herself, but it's pretty much reliable sources in it, Paul, that's putting those rumours out for us at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it before, haven't we, that we need to have a good look at the team throughout every single player, really, and have that. Rene needs the time to rebuild a squad to play her way of football, because we've got the Jonas era, we've got the Joe era, they're all still here, and if she wants to get win all the trophies that she can, and she's got a game plan, she needs the players there that are going to play her way of football. And I think we have seen it over the over the summer, bringing in Olivia Smith, Taylor Hines, Borba as well, with Manu probably going this season. It's the start. It's not going to happen overnight. We know that. You're never going to say, right, I'm getting rid of these 10 players in one transfer window and I'm bringing 10 more in, because realistically, is that the sensible thing? Probably not. You want to integrate 2 or 3, as we did in the summer. We've obviously brought in Smilla Holberg during this transfer window, and then in the summer, again 2 or 3 more, and it could even be another season before we see the full effect of this. So, if we're sitting pretty good in the league at the moment, especially if we get the win on Sunday, that would be amazing. I think the goal has got to be for us finish as high as we can, potentially second place. I think realistically the WSL has gone to City now after their result, smashing Chelsea 5-1 yesterday. So if we can have a decent run in the FA Cup, a decent run in Europe again, there's 2 more trophies on offer there that we can win. We know we can win as long as the players perform as we know they can in those games. So I don't see why we can't go into next season potentially 2 or even 3 trophies already under Rene's belt. It's going to encourage the better players, the bigger players to want to come to Arsenal. I mean, we're playing in a 60,000 seater stadium. We're getting the fans through the door. We're not a team like Chelsea that struggle to get the fans when they are at Stamford Bridge unless they're playing us.
That's the thing, Paul, with obviously the fans in it. Like, it's just getting bigger and bigger at Arsenal, and of course it's a good thing, and it's obviously good to see, especially on a Sunday night when kids have school the next day and there's 25,000 in that stadium.
Exactly.
That's just crazy. So it is.
I mean, would you have got 25,000 there if it had been Chelsea? That's the question.
No. Obviously, Catherine has a wee question for us all to answer. Obviously, Ona Badgie or Katie McCabe. Jack, I'll come to you first for that one.
You know what? I do like Katie McCabe. I think I've always been a fan of her, but I think I'm a fan of the personality more than the player. So I'm gonna go on Ona Badgie, because I do think, she's so good on the ball and a very underrated defender as well.
Yeah, she can switch sides as well, can't she, Ona? So
it's played centre back too as well if needed for Barcelona. She really can cover that whole back line.
Yeah, and Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of Katie. I think on her day she can be one of the best left backs that there is, but I just feel the last sort of year or so, a little bit of complacency's come into her game, where she hasn't been challenged for that position with us, and I think that's what's let her down recently. I mean, there's no questioning her passion for the game, but I think on that I'd go for Ona over Katie in there. And it's part of the refreshing and the rebuilding the squad that I think we need.
I think she's lost a yard of pace as well. She's not quite as quick on the touchline, which was one of the things that was one of her real strengths, driving in, tracking back. And even I thought with the penalty she gave away, it's just she's that half a second behind where she used to be now.
Yeah, for me personally, I think Katie this season is bored at Arsenal. As you says, Paul, I don't think, although we brought in like Taylor and obviously Smilla, but I don't think she's been pushed enough. I think Katie needed to be pushed last season instead of this season. This season was too late for Katie at Arsenal, I think. I personally think if Arsenal could have got rid of her in the summer, they would have got rid of her. But for me at the moment, obviously, Badgie just tips that post for me, and yeah, she's a speedy player and she's an exciting prospect. And it's, as I says, it's obviously exciting to see someone like that linked to Arsenal. So it is. So obviously we'll go back to talking about yesterday's game. Jack will obviously talk about the breakdown of the first goal, which was Olivia Smith's first goal. So if you want to take that away, Jack, for me.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's what we were talking about earlier. A one-on-one finish that ought to be put in the back of the net. It was a good ball through. I thought all game actually we played. It was really end to end. Like I think the spaces were there. I think if you asked an opposition manager what was the perfect game plan to play against Arsenal, you would probably describe something similar to how Corinthians played for the full 120 minutes. I think less of being harsh on Arsenal. I just think they actually played a very good game. And yeah, first goal, deflection, but you've got to be right place, right time. And Olivia Smith was. And that is a talent in itself, just being there to finish it off. How often do you see it parried out and cleared?
Yeah. Paul, obviously the usual Olivia Smith. She's there, and for me, Olivia Smith seems to always find the right spaces at the moment to score her goals. Do you think that's the same, or do you think differently for Olivia Smith?
Yeah, she seems to manage to lose her defender quite easily in quite a few cases, and I don't know whether that's something that Rene's told her to try and do, or whether it's just something that comes naturally for her. But yeah, she just seems to find that little bit of space, and she just gets the shot away. Yeah, we saw it. Was it the London City game right at the start of the season? She fired that banger in. She just hit it. There was no sort of thinking about, oh, could I take 10 passes and maybe walk it into the net. She just wallops it, and I think that's what we need to see a little bit more of from maybe a few of the other players.
Yeah, I'm sure someone else said it in the chat a couple of weeks ago. I'd maybe love to see Olivia Smith come into the middle, just to give it a try to see how it would go. I think Olivia Smith has that flair that she would be able to handle attacking midfield, I think.
I thought you were talking about up front, to be fair, with her pace on the shoulder of a player.
Yeah, she probably could do that as well as a Stina role as well, but I'd love to see her in midfield, like just cutting through that middle. I think she would cut through players.
Do you think she's technical enough on it though? Because I mean, the person I feel like I always want to see down the middle is Mariona, just because she has that extra bit of technicalness. Because I think in big games having Olivia Smith down the middle would be great because there's much more space. But obviously, one of the sad things about being an Arsenal player is teams sit back against you. So it's almost you need that player who can have the technical ability to unlock the spaces more than being running into them. I think just in terms of, so it depends what game for me on Olivia Smith down the middle.
Yeah. I suppose I could, like, next season, a good pre-season, could maybe try her in a few other positions, couldn't we? Like, just to see how she would get on in them, considering Renee likes to have certain players out of their positions and playing in a position that's not really theirs anyway. So, a usual Arsenal, we've seen it over the seasons where we're watching players like Mariona at the moment play out of position, and you're just questioning why sometimes. But yeah, it's Arsenal. Obviously, Paul, I'll come back to you. We've got to give Corinthians some credit, haven't we? Because like their game plan, as Jack says, was down to a T to against us. Like their organisation, their quality, which I think was a shocker to most Arsenal fans, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean they came out to basically defend and stop us playing a passing game, which we tend to play. But as soon as both times that they went behind, they instantly changed their style of play and they slightly changed their formation a bit. and they actually came out to attack us. And I thought when it happened the second time, I thought we should learn from this. We're 2-1 up. There's now going to be spaces in round the back where they're playing slightly not as deep as they were, and that's what we need to exploit. And we didn't. I know we had their, I think it was their number 40 up front, who was proving to be a little bit of a handful when she came on as well. I know Lotta slipped at one point, which probably due to the conditions out there, and she was almost through on goal. But yeah, their game plan, they came with it. They stuck to it. They did the job, and at the end of the day, they took us to extra time. So, all credit to them. They didn't just come and roll over.
Yeah, we'll obviously talk about their first goal as well. I don't remember much of the first goal. Do you remember much of the first goal?
No, I'm trying to desperately think here.
I think it happened that quick.
I know that they went straight back the other end, didn't they? Really?
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say was when they attacked in numbers. Like, it was almost quite impressive how they go from a back four when they were defending to suddenly almost they'd have a 2 in their sitting midfielder just in front. So it was almost back 2 and a midfielder, and then everyone else was just forward. They absolutely rammed the boxes, attacked with pace. It was quite impressive. Like, I think if you look at probably our defence, you'd say the majority of them had really good games, just because of actually how well they dealt with it. Like, yeah, I just have that feeling that actually against a team like Corinthians, who were so good and so organised, but also technically, I thought they were very, very good. They didn't waste any of their opportunities when they got on the ball. They were really good at converting half opportunities into chances and stuff. I just think sometimes you kind of go, well, we are going to concede goals. And I've got a feeling that first one was a header, wasn't it, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I can't. That way, everything's a blur. So
I remember the second one, but yeah, I just think
that because I've got a video of it. I think it's the only goal I got yesterday. It was. I thought the game moved that quick yesterday that I couldn't. You just couldn't catch a break. It was such a, as Kev says, it was such a pinball game that you just. You blinked sometimes and things were happening and it was just crazy. But obviously,
it was an advertisement for a final between the top team in South America and the top team in Europe. Like, if you'd say what you would hope would happen, it would be a game like this. And I think both teams actually made very few mistakes on the whole in the whole 90 minutes, 120 minutes. Played good football and just were a credit. Like, if we'd picked a weakened team like I suspected we'd have been beaten quite comfortably, I'd imagine, by the end, or we'd have had to have made changes very quickly.
Yeah. Paul, obviously their equaliser happens right before half time, and that's obviously going to shift a bit of momentum within Arsenal's camp, innit?
Yeah, but I think Renee dealt with it quite well. She made that change at half time. She realised we needed a little bit more strength in that sort of up front. So moving Russo up and bringing Frida on in the number 10 role. So I do feel Frida is a little bit stronger up against players on one-on-one, and Corinthians were quite a physical team up there. And even in that extra time period, when Kadina came on and was playing sort of a holding midfield, and she did manage to put Mariona and Frida, both seem to be playing in the number 10 role together until we got Caitlin got the winning goal. But so I think Renee's tactics were actually pretty spot on at the right time. She didn't do what she normally does and wait till the hour mark before making the usual 2 substitutions that we can pretty much guarantee. She realised something needed to change at half time, and she did.
Yeah, obviously, like talking on the decision to take Steiner off at half time and bring on Frida Manham. What were your thoughts on that sub at half time?
I liked it. I don't think Steiner had a bad first half, but I just think we look a bit more balanced when we got a midfield three, and I think that we can see more rotation between Marnham, between Little, and between Mariona when it's them three compared to when it's Steiner, Mariona, Little. Just because Steiner obviously is primarily a forward, whereas actually you can drop Marnham deeper, you can move Mariona forward, you can get Kim crashing the box, and they're a bit more all-rounded midfielders. I can see the logic in having Russo sat deeper, but again, it's that same problem. You've almost got to choose between whether you want Russo and Steiner to kind of interlink and swap places in the final third, or if you want Mariona, Marnham and Little to rotate in the midfield. And I think in a game where it was so ping ball, so fast-paced, just having 3 midfielders who can do the defensive stuff, but also can spring forward in attack and put the balls through to our attackers. I think it was absolutely spot on, to be fair. Although I don't necessarily blame the initial lineup and going that way as well.
Yeah, do you think that sub impacted the game immediately, or did you think it took a little bit to settle in? For me personally, I thought when I seen Frida coming on, I thought, oh no, like Frida, I will admit I've not been Frida's biggest fan lately. I don't think she has been at her best, and many people in the chat will know that. And like it's for me, she's just not doing enough for us at the moment at the club. That's not to say that Frida's not an amazing player. We've seen that. We've seen it time and time again. With Frida, she pops up in the big games and she gets the goals for us. But this season, she just seems to be struggling. But when she came on, I actually at first I thought, right, she's doing really well here. But again, the consistency for me didn't play out the full game.
Yeah, it's a tough one in terms of actually she's not having the end product at the moment, but I do think she's keeping everything ticking along in midfield. So I think the impact of Frida coming on was maybe not felt in them first 20, 30 minutes after half time, but actually we were not ran as ragged in the second half, which is why I think we were considerably fresher than Corinthians in extra time, because I thought extra time there was only going to be one winner. So I think it almost had a later effect. Just because I think if it had been ping ball both ways, I think both teams would have been on their absolute knees by extra time. Whereas Marnham does offer a little bit of stability. She's not a solution at number 10, I agree. She's not the attacking midfielder. But I think as a rotation midfielder who you can put in to keep everything ticking along, to keep the ball moving, to offer a bit more solidity, I do still think she has a place in that sort of one, pressing, passing, moving the ball around and just keeping hold of the ball a little bit. They are some things that she does pretty well. Yeah,
obviously Catherine's saying about the starting lineup was the same starting 11 that we had against Chelsea, or it would have had Smith if she wasn't suspended. And maybe they were hoping that it would have worked against Chelsea. If it worked against Chelsea, they were hoping it was going to work yesterday, which to some extent for me it did work. But yeah, I think bringing Frida on kind of changed the game a little bit in terms of how we defended the midfield for that. So yeah, obviously we'll move on to a lot of Ruben Moyes' goal. Then Paul will come to you for this one. Again, I don't know. Did a lot of Ruben Moyes' goal come from a corner? I was at the game and the goals are an absolute blur to me. So they are.
Yeah, I think it did, and she was just loitering. I think if I remember rightly, at the back post, where she generally does loiter. I think that's the difference between her and Leah. Leah tends to sort of hover around the penalty spot and run in, and Lotta tends to hover near that back post. So whichever one's in the team, they offer something different. And yeah, she's picked up a couple like that. And yeah, it was just great to see a player like Lotta that doesn't always get a chance in the team. If Leah had been fully fit, she probably wouldn't have started yesterday. But she's a great sort of loyal player that when she's called upon, she just steps up and rounds it off with a goal.
Yeah, I will obviously touch on Lotta a little bit. I think Lotta for us has been really important the last couple of weeks. I think her performances on paper look like just she's in the team. She's not really. But I think personally, if you're watching Lotta through a person, I think people can say that Lotta has been the good stand-in as Leah obviously recovers from a hamstring injury, and we seen yesterday that Leah was back on the bench again, and as Reece says, is Lotta making herself undroppable due to a aerial threat, and what does that mean for Catley when Leah returns?
I think we got to go Lottie and Leah again. I think Catley's coming towards the end, and I think her and Leah do very similar things. I've been big advocate for Steph Catley at centre back, but I thought Lottie was our player of the match yesterday. I mean, I counted, I think, 6 blocks that she did in the second half of that game, as well as the goal. And I don't think we have a defender like her. She reminded me, and this is about as big a compliment as I can give, a bit of Rafaela in that second half, and then also in extra time, that physical side. And obviously we know how good her and Leah's partnership was. So yeah, I think she is probably our second best defender at the club, and I would be pretty happy going into next season with Lotte and Leah as our starting 2 centre backs.
Obviously, Katie Reid is in there. That it's going to be a tough old pick next season, I think, in terms of defenders, especially if Steph Catley signs a new deal to stay at the club. She's going to want to fight for a space. Katie Reid is going to come back from, obviously, ACL. That'll maybe be towards the end of maybe next season, the middle of next season, just depending on how bad that ACL injury was. It's just a good old battle. Lotta's going to want minutes. I think if Lotta isn't guaranteed minutes next season, it could be one that maybe we could see going as well. That's just my opinion. If that happens, Laia Kadina maybe going out the door. Just that defensive battle altogether across Arsenal. Just a shame that defensive battle wasn't happening this season for us in terms of injury. That put a lot of our back line out, and we've seen that quite a lot this season. Obviously, Laia Kadina was injury prone at one point. Leah's injury prone this season. Lotta was injury prone at one point. It's crazy in terms of what our back line can look like if they're top notch. So it is.
Both Steph Catley and Laia Kadina are out of contract this year.
Yeah.
I can see possibly one of them being offered an extension. I can't see them both being offered it personally, because we have got so many others, like you say, Leah, Lotta. We got Katie Reid coming back as well sometime next season. And when you've got all those quality centre backs, all of them desperate for minutes. If Katie hadn't picked up that injury when she did, she would have been an international player by now, because she was called up to the squad. So you've got international players there, and they're all going to want to play. And unfortunately, there's only really 2 positions to fill, and where you do need the backup, 5 into 2 really doesn't go.
I hope that actually Renee chooses to keep Laya Cadena just off the basis that I think Laya's versatility in all the different positions she can play is very helpful, and also her age profile is a little bit lower than Steph Catley's, and I don't want to see Steph Catley decline. I think she's been like a fantastic player for us, and I think if we do end up in a FA Cup final at Wembley at the end of the season, I think there'll be a few players that are of the older age that think actually this is the perfect time for me to almost step down. So I think if we have a good season and a good end to the season, hopefully the decisions like that will be done that way. Because, I mean, Laya can play centre-back, right-back, and also defensive midfielder, can't she? If I'm not mistaken.
She played there yesterday for about 10 minutes after coming on when they sort of changed the formation and moved Mariona more up front. And I think she played there in the Conti Cup final a couple of years ago against Chelsea. She played in there and kept them Ramirez really quiet for the day. So yeah.
The only other thing I'll say is I don't know if you guys saw it at the ground, but on the TV you could see actually for that whole last 20 minutes of the second half, and then up until when she came on, she was actually Renee Slager's left-hand woman in the fact that they were discussing tactics. She was putting orders onto the pitch. She was almost stood there as though she was an assistant manager, which probably Laya Cadena.
Yeah, but Laya's always done that though, ain't she? Like you
So
look at
she's
the
a
Champions
leader
League.
as well.
Yeah. So I think you've shot Catherine there about what you said. I think it's been a bit shell shocked by that there, Jack. So she has. I think you've shell shocked a few people. Darren says, obviously, well said, Jack. Laya Cadena is so underappreciated and underrated. And we've spoken about this in previous shows concerning Laya Cadena, that people keep bringing her down and bringing her down and bringing her down. But how do you expect a player to be at their very best when they don't get the minutes that Laya Cadena obviously doesn't get? Your body wastes away in terms of you're so used to playing certain amount of minutes and whatever between club and country to then practically not being picked and getting thrown on a pitch the last 10 minutes. And then, of course, as I said, Laya Cadena's injuries kind of let Laya down as well. So I think in terms of Laya, there's still a lot of work at Arsenal to do with her, but I don't know if I would prefer Steph Catley over Cadena. So I do.
Well, things we lose Steph Catley, aren't we, in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, and Laya's going to obviously have to step up there.
Yeah, so we're then only going to have 3 centre-backs to cover those 2 positions. So you'd have thought Leah would come back into that role, probably with Lotta, but then Cadena's going to have to be there. If one of them picks up a little niggle or something like that, then yeah, she'll be there to sort of fill in.
Yeah, obviously, Catherine's saying if we bring in Stanley, we would need Laya Cadena to be playing multiple positions.
I'm not sure Steph Cat. I don't know. Do we reckon Stanway is a defensive midfielder? This could be a debate for the summer, but I think Stanway is the Kim Little replacement. I still think we'll bring in another a traditional defensive midfielder as well. I think we'll go Stanway, Caldente, plus another midfielder, as opposed to necessarily Stanway coming in and sitting at the base of defence. I think some of her best attributes are actually crashing the box quite late. They're finishing from outside, getting on the ball, driving forward. And she's absolutely fantastic at it. But even if you look at some of her best stuff she does with Bayern, she has a more defensive-minded midfielder sat behind her, covering the defensive duties. At England, some of her best stuff is always done with Keira Walsh sat behind her. So I don't know if I would necessarily trust her to sit in front of the back four, and I don't know if I would necessarily want her to sit in the front of the back four. I almost feel we'd waste her a bit. So I think there's still a place for Laia Cadena, just answering Catherine's question, just because I don't think they're going to overlap in terms of positions. And if they do, then I'd be slightly worried about what we're actually bringing Stanway in for.
Yeah, we'll obviously see that in the summer then, won't we? What role? Obviously, Doreen's saying, I clicked off at this one. Obviously, Doreen's saying he hopes Stanway comes into the 8 role, freeing up Mariona for the 10. So it is. But yeah, hello, Mark. I hope you're well. I know you're on the other side over there in the nice sunshine while we're here in the freezing cold. Thank you very much. Obviously, we'll move on. I've got some stats from going back on the whole striking force at the moment and the problem we have. So obviously Arsenal had 13 shots on target. Corinthians had 6 on target. Paul, do you think Arsenal were wasteful in front of goal comparing to those stats?
Compared to some of the other games, no. Some of the other games we've had many more shots on target and we haven't scored at all. I mean, we were playing, it was difficult conditions. We were playing against a side that we didn't know really. We've never played against those players have never played against them. It was a difficult one, but I think when it came to it, they took their chances that they could. And I'm sure we'll get on to the winning goal in a minute, but even Kaylin Ford, where, she wasn't trying to just do her usual step overs, where she was playing a little bit narrower. She wasn't quite as far out on the wing, got the shot away and got the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, I found myself really frustrated at Arsenal sometimes yesterday. It still comes down to the whole, what is going on with our strike force at the moment? Like, what is the problem? Why aren't we getting to the root of the problem? And why strikers in our team aren't confident in shooting outside a box? Not even just for strikers. Mariona at the moment, I don't know how many times, took a touch outside the box and we're shouting, shoot. Like, I think that's why some of us lose our voice, because we're just constantly shouting, shoot. And it's something that's frustrating at the moment that Arsenal seem to want to walk a ball into the box to try and get the goal in it, Jack.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to the strikers' problem, if I'm honest. Because I still think Alessia Russo is a world-class striker, and in a big game, there's very few people I'd rather have taken that opportunity, believe it or not, than Stina Blackstenius. So It's tough. I think one of Beth Mead's best attributes is actually her finishing. I think Caitlin Ford herself is also very direct. Olivia Smith is very direct. I'd say the only more traditional sort of winger is probably Chloe Kelly, but yeah, I've sort of just got the attitude that it will hopefully fall into place. Add a few more quality players into the team. Again, another pre-season, freshen up behind. Bring in a few more top quality players that I know we are linked to in the attacking areas as well. There's a few names that get floated around every so often that you think, oof, yeah, they are quite cold killers in the front.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it will come. I think Corinthians goalkeeper also had a very, very good game. Like there was 2 or 3 saves where I went, our striker could not have done anything more there. That's just an absolute top class save. Although I do also think actually some of Corinthians' chances, I think our goalkeeper actually made the same and did some absolutely incredible saves at the other end as well.
I was just going to obviously come on to Anna and in terms of Bobba, as it obviously the podcast send well wishes to her, and we hope she's doing well. She has put out an Instagram message tonight saying she's all right, she's fine. But that was a nasty one that she took. But before that happened, I thought Bobba had yet again a magnificent like game. The saves that she made through some of the shots that the Corinthians had at us, and then of course winning the best goalkeeper of the tournament. Paul, I'm assuming the way Izumi has her goalkeeper talk, she was happy with that performance from Bobba.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, I mean, she made 2 or 3 excellent saves, as she has done over the last few games, and she's stepped into that role when Daphne picked up the injury, as if she's had it for years. It's always difficult for a goalkeeper to come in like that. Outfield players, you've got people around you that if you make that little mistake, there's usually someone to cover you. But in goal, you're there all on your own. And yeah, she kept us in the game. She made the saves that she did, and you show again. She showed the passion, as did Lotta, when they had that coming together deep into extra time. That they were there to win it. They were there to do it, and that's what we need to see from all the players that are there, is putting up that fight. And that goes back to the Katie McCabe comment earlier, that has she just thought, that's it, I'm not at this club anymore, my passion's gone for it, I need to move on. And this is where we need these new players coming in, and Borba is one of those that has come in, and she's there for the club. She's there for, she's those fresh cans in her case, that we now feel confident that we've got 2 quality goalkeepers. Doesn't matter which one is getting picked, whether it's in the league, whether it's a cup, whether it's the Champions League. We know we've got that solid person there between the sticks.
Yeah, in terms of Bobba, it's a case of having a lot of Arsenal fans eat their own words, really, innit? Like, at the start of the season, she made that mistake at obviously the pre-season game with Spurs, and a lot of people had already been done. Off you go, Bobba, you're not for us. And at this moment in time, for me, she's just very undroppable. Me and James were talking about this yesterday in terms of how we like Bobba in terms of the way she commands a box. I think at Arsenal, Daphne for me is still a little bit quiet. Manu just doesn't do it, and Bobba for me commands the box perfectly fine. And I just think she's had the most amazing however games that she's had to step in for Daphne, and yeah, it's just a shame that happened, because I don't think she would have been droppable. That she just drop in terms of unstoppable to be droppable. Like, she's like, for me, she's different class at the moment, and yeah, like. Jack, I don't know if this comment is aimed at you.
Oh, heck. No, I just got to clear that one up. No, Leslie Russo is definitely the striker on the move. She is the one that I definitely want up front. Yeah, no, I do not prefer Stina Blackstenius. I've got some wild views at times, and I come out with some completely wacky things. But no, he's got to be Alessia Russo up front. I just think Stina has a way of getting important goals in important games when we probably least expect her to. Just with the Dorian one, actually, with the Borba, because I remember the first goal now was a corner where she's made the save and it's just crossed the line. In her defence, it has come through 3 or 4 bodies when you rewatch the goal.
Is that you replying to Dorian?
To Dorian, yeah. I think it's come through so many bodies. I think you will see you'll see it often just fly straight into the net. I think she's done well actually to get anything onto it at all. And it's actually just the fact that she's got something onto it and then fell back into the net with the ball crossing the line that's made it look worse for her than it actually was. I actually think it was almost an absolute incredible world-class save, but she's just been made to look a bit daft by the way that it has trickled over the line. But I'm guessing it's not one you can usually see from the ground, but on the TV you can see it's gone about head height through about 3 or 4 different players. Like, she's seen it so late.
Yeah, he wants to have an argument with us, guys. We're not going to lower our standards down to that, okay? You behave, Doreen. Anyway, we've got still plenty of the match to talk about. We'll obviously talk about the penalty incident. Paul, what were your thoughts on that? And do you think it was a clear-cut penalty?
I actually thought it was a penalty before it went to VAR. I was round in block 15, so I had quite a good view of it. And I just looked at it. I thought, no, that's a penalty. And when she didn't blow for a penalty, I was like, she's got away with that. But then she was holding up that throw in. I thought, no, here we are. It's VAR. It's going to go to a penalty. Somebody behind me, I don't know how true this is, said they were looking at a potential handball in the build-up to it, which is why it took so long. They were looking on something. I don't know. I haven't watched it back. But then that's what they were trying to do apparently. But for me, it was a clear penalty in the ground when I saw it straight away.
I think it's a 50-50 between that one. A lot of people are saying, no, that's a soft penalty. Like, she's going for the ball. Like, I think it's a great debate, I think, on Twitter today that, no, it wasn't a penalty. Yes, it was a penalty for me. I'm just not going to answer on it because it happened. That's it. The game is done. But, like...
I'll just say I agree with Paul. I also thought it was a pretty stonewall penalty. I don't think the debate's whether it's a penalty. I think the debate's whether Katie McCabe actually got any of the ball in the end or not. But she definitely took a fair bit of the attacker's foot through the back of it anyway. Yeah.
It was a big moment in the game when it jacked to change it. Like, so close to the ending that game. And the last 9 minutes, and it was quite a big change in the game at that moment, wasn't it? Because for me, I think for me in the first half of extra time, Corinthians actually came at us, and it got scary at one point.
Yeah, it was a complete turning point. I don't know why Katie McCabe's done it. It's not a tackle she has to make. She's experienced enough she didn't even need to get involved in it. Yeah, I just think she's gone to try and nick it, gone through the back. It's given a penalty, and then it changes momentum, which is why I think actually Arsenal did very well to actually grapple it back. Yeah, because I was almost expecting more of an onslaught. I don't know if it felt more nervous in the ground, but like actually watching on the TV, it felt very much we were in control. In extra time, it did feel like there was only going to be one winner if it was going to happen, and it did feel like that would be us.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously talking about a big moment in the game that changes in terms. I know Paul's itching to talk about this Caitlin Ford's goal, and I know at this moment in time we're all saying, thank God, Caitlin Ford. Who would have thought in this podcast over the last few weeks that we would have been saying, thank God, Caitlin Ford. Of course, this is the one goal I can remember. Lovely. We're defending the ball at one point. Frida Manham gets it in the midfield. Lovely cut across to Caitlin Ford. Caitlin obviously does a dribble into the box. And at one point, she stumbles. She does stumble. She loses balance, but still manages to get the goal. Paul, take it away if you want to talk about that goal.
Yeah, like I say, great cross from Frida. Caitlin, she did what she hasn't been doing recently, where she actually went direct at goal. Whereas, as we've said many a time, that it's run it down the wing, step over, pass it back, step over, get it back again, step over, try and cross it, get blocked. Whereas this time she literally just ran straight for the goal. and shot straight into the net. And if she'd have started doing that 6 months ago, then I'm sure we wouldn't have been saying all those things that we have said about her over the last few weeks. But that one goal does not make her a world-class player again. It may be the goal that won it for us, but unless she can follow that up over the next 2 or 3 weeks with something else, something special there, then I do still feel that her days with us are probably going to end this season.
Yeah, I think it was George that was talking the other day that was saying, I think we can tell by some of their attitudes who's already been told they're staying or who's already been told that they're out the door at the end of the season.
Just quickly, who do we reckon are the ones on the chopping block? Who do we reckon is gone at the end of the season?
I'd say Manu, Katie, and Caitlin are the three definites that are going. It's either going to be Steph or Laya.
Yeah,
more. I'll just quickly say I reckon Manu, Steph. I also think we're going to lose Kim Little. I'm not 100% confident. I think she'll retire as opposed to go. I'm not 100% confident on Mariona. I'm hopeful, but not fully confident.
Hasn't Mariona's contract been triggered though?
Yeah, they've triggered the 1 year extension.
Yeah.
If you were going to get
Mariona there for that extra year anyway.
I think if Arsenal don't think she's going to sign a new contract, I think they'll sell her this year and reinvest the money.
Mm-hmm.
I think if she stays, she will sign a new contract next season. I think if she goes, then we'll see her go this summer. But I think Stina as well. I think we could end up having a completely new revamped back or front three and also back four.
Yeah. You probably know something we don't, Jack.
I don't know anything. I will not on this. I will say thankfully, but it's just a gut feeling that I think if you've always got the option to extend, so you're always going to take it. But I do think women's football is slowly now heading towards a place actually where sales are becoming quite important. I think we're moving away now from a time of free transfers and stuff. As crowds increase, as marketing increases, I think we're going to see greater sort of financial management of the game. There's a lot of people sort of talking about it, and I do think, whatever we say about Mariona Caldente, she's got to be one of the most valuable players in women's football. And I'm not sure if Arsenal didn't think she would re-sign, that they would then let her walk out the door for free at the age she is, because I think most clubs would put up a very, very big price that then could be reinvested back into the women's team.
Yeah. Obviously, talking about investment, with Arsenal winning this competition yesterday, they obviously got a lump sum of money, which was, if I'm right, £2 million. And a lot of people are asking, what is Arsenal going to do with that £2 million? What are we hoping as Arsenal fans that Arsenal do with investment on that money?
I've got two trains of thoughts whilst Paul has a think. I either want us to splash it all on Aitana Bonmati, send over the biggest bid we can to Barcelona. That's my fantasy world, my reality world.
They need the money, Jack.
Exactly. But probably more seriously, I think invest it into the infrastructure behind the women's team, the academy, the training. If we're still going to be playing a number of games at Boreham Wood, I wouldn't mind seeing some of it being spent on the facilities for the players there, because I know it is still quite behind.
Yeah.
So Bonmati or sensibleness.
Yeah.
But nowhere in between for me.
And Paul, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to see it not all splashed in one go. I think that's it's a good lump sum of money that we can use to invest in the team over the next sort of couple of years. And like we just said, the transfer fees are going to start kicking in the women's game, with longer contracts being offered and things like that. So I think it just gives them a nice base to start with, over other teams. So look, we've got this pot of money here. The women earned this. The women's team have brought this into the club, so it's there to invest in the women's side of it, not just get swallowed up by the club in general. So yeah, I'd like to see it sort of over the next couple of seasons used for potential transfers, and with the old Mariona possibly leaving, if she goes and we get some money for her, I think it's again, if we can bring in the bigger players, then and the other players that are there can see that the club is ambitious and is moving forward as a whole, then we're going to be able to keep the better players as well.
Yeah. For me, in terms of that money, is Darren's put it rightly there. That's Cristiano Ronaldo's week's pay. Like, that is peanuts to the men's, but of course in the women it can stretch a good distance in terms of bringing maybe players in or better in facilities for the women. We obviously know Arsenal women do have good facilities with being where they are and between the men and things like that. Like, yeah, I agree with you both. I'd quite like to see it being invested in things that we do need. So it is. So, yeah. Before I wrap it up, do you want to add anything, boys? Or are we happy with the way?
Great advert for women's football. To be honest, I just think it was an absolutely brilliant game, and I think it showed two absolute top class teams go at each other, and for a competition that's in its first year, like, it was brilliant. Like, you wondered if it was going to be like a glorified pre-season in the middle of a season. Fair play to Corinthians, considering this isn't actually during their season as well. Like, it would be very interesting if it was played at a time that suited both teams. I think we could have even had potentially an even more exciting game. But yeah, no, just a brilliant game of football, brilliant advert, and thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jack. It was, it was an exciting one, and it was one that kept us all on our toes, I think. And of course, it kept us all awake past certain times. Like, most of us like to be in my bed by 9 o'clock, but yeah, we were there cheering on, hoping that Arsenal obviously got the win, and of course we did. I'd like to see if we've got a Corinthians fan in. Hello, welcome. I hope you had a safe journey home if you went home, and I hope you really enjoyed the game, because you put up a fight and your fans in the stadium were also good as well. Paul, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, basically just sort of echoing what Jack's just said. It was a great game, a great advert for women's football. You've got these basically two of the best teams in the world against each other, and for those of us that didn't make it over to Lisbon last season, it was just great to be sort of part of it, and part of something new, because first one, and again, it's something that Chelsea definitely haven't done, and now just looking forward to the new graphic up in the Emirates for 2026 with the World Club Cup.
I'll look forward to my new patch in my shirt next season.
Yeah. Have you seen they've already released new celebratory T-shirts? If you want one of them.
Yeah, I'm not a blue coloured fan. Like, I'm not any blue, Jack.
I've got to say though, no one ever works quicker than the Arsenal marketing team. Those lots are on it when it comes to new merchandise.
Yeah. Imagine if we lost it, how much money we would have lost. But anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up there for tonight. Thank you, obviously, everybody that was in the chat tonight. And of course, thank you to my two amazing guests. Jack, thank you very much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. Hope that you'll be seeing me a little bit more often again now. And just as we know, miracles can happen because my internet has managed to stay steady for the full duration.
Thank you very much for coming on, Jack. And Paul, thank you again. It's always a pleasure to see you on.
Yeah,
even though
always.
I'm tired and lack of coffee.
Yeah, always glad to be here. Still surviving on about 4 hours sleep last night. So, yeah.
I was about the same. I was up at 6 o'clock this morning catching a flight back to Glasgow.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me.
Yeah, got in it was gone midnight when I got in after the drive home, and I was at work at 5:30 this morning.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a good way to
At least
get.
we've got a 2 o'clock game on Sunday, so a nice sensible time.
Yeah, it's sensible enough, isn't it? Before we obviously go, make sure you subscribe to the Mr. Arsenal podcast over on YouTube. Obviously, the Highbury Fans Forever YouTube channel, and then of course our channel, the Arsenal Women chat show over on YouTube as well. Just make sure you like, subscribe to all those channels, and if you liked what you watched tonight, obviously if you like coming in and annoying us in the chat, then that's even better. It keeps the show going, and we obviously like your opinions and stuff. So that'll be us for tonight. And before I go, obviously, come on, you Gunners. Yes, we are champions again. So we'll obviously have a show on Friday, I think. I'll speak to George. We'll sort that out. Going into the Man City game, we've obviously got a big game at the weekend that we need to win. So yeah, maybe a show then. So from me to you guys, I hope you have a lovely rest of the evening, and come on, you Gunners.